Hello everyone. My name is Dr. Sabrina Edwards. Welcome to the 2012 National Association of Independent Colleges and Universities Summer Conference. This year the conference is very important to us because independent colleges and universities have faced a crisis due to the increase of tuition at most of our universities and the inability for a lot of students to pay. Today I will have board members, Dr. Latrice James, Dr. Melissa Jennings, Dr. Jennifer Castellanos, and Dr. Ani Poe, representing Nova Southeastern University, here to discuss the areas of federal states policies, satisfactory academic progress, funding opportunities and college planning. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge Congressman David Escobar, who will be sitting in on the conference. Before I have the other members come forward and present, I will give a presentation on increasing tuition rates, college access and affordability. Thank you.
Trends continue in the cost of tuition. By 2034, you could pay about $500,000 on your education. And I'm talking about an undergraduate degree. This does not include a graduate.
Borrowing has more than doubled in the last decade, and students from lower-income families, on average, get smaller grants from the colleges they attend than students from more affluent families. Institute for Higher Education Policy 2000. The policy of choice, expanding student options in higher education, found patterns of enrollment have changed over the 10-year period 1989 to 90 to 1999 to 2000. Among traditional freshmen, the proportion of low-income freshmen decreased at most types of four-year institutions, but increased at two-year institutions. Higher-income students decreased at less selective four-year and proprietary institutions, and increased at both public two-year and more selective doctoral-level four-year institutions. The percentages of students receiving institutional aid and loan aid were tied more closely with type of institution than to family income.
Hi everyone, this is Melissa Jennings, and my part of the presentation is on financial preparation for college. And basically what I'll be talking to you about is how you can prepare so that financial aid would be your last resort, basically. I did a little funny thing where I found online there's like a cost estimator, and I have a son who's 6. So what I did was I said that my child has 12 years until college because he'll be in first grade this year. He'll attend for 4 years, just a regular bachelor's degree, and let's say he went somewhere that was $25,000. They estimate that the price of his education for that time will be $220,000 just for a bachelor's degree. We have a lot of state schools here in Pennsylvania that are cheaper, but the average price is about $25,000 a year with room and board. And of course there's a lot of factors that go into that, but I thought that that number was astronomical and very sobering. And the way that I can save would be to save $800 a month until he goes to college, so for 12 years, and that would help with that cost. Basically, when you're looking at a school, price is always dependent upon, is it a private school or is it a public school? You know, is it in-state tuition? Are you a resident versus out-of-state tuition? I pay out-of-state tuition for Nova because I live here in Pennsylvania, so you know, I do pay more. Is it 4 years? Are you going for a bachelor's or are you going for associates? You know, the price varies for that. The location, are you living on campus? Are you living with your parents or home? You know, you'd have to save for more money if you do plan to live on campus. There's two types of programs that I found that are the most common. The one is called You Promise. It's a free program that you can sign up for. And basically, if you go to www.savingforcollege.com, this is a website. It's a free website dedicated to helping you save for college. And what happens is if you sign up for a card, you can make purchases and you get money back on everyday purchases. And that goes right into your You Promise account. And that money can be used for any purpose that you wind up getting for college. So textbooks, gas, whatever. So that's one. And a lot of states offer what's called a 529 plan. I have 2 of these myself. A 529 plan is a guaranteed savings plan. So you will not be taxed. You put your money in. Some states will match the money. Here in Pennsylvania we have 2 types. There's one called a guaranteed savings plan. The other's called an investment plan. So they work in a couple different ways, but basically it's tax-free. Some, like I said, some do match, some don't. Some put them into mutual funds that are sound to increase your money. And I do have a clip explaining a 529. But a 529 is a very safe, sound way to save for college and to really see your money grow. And if you cannot save for college on your own or through a plan like a 529, you can take loans, right? And there are federal loans, there are direct Stafford loans, which we all know about. They're subsidized where the government will pay the interest while you're in school, and then there's unsubsidized where the student's responsible for the interest. There's Direct Plus loans for graduates and professional degree students, so a lot of grad students who've exhausted the Stafford loans and the Fed loans will have to take the Direct Plus loans, to finish financing. There's Perkins loan, which is a different type of loan, same kind of federal backing. And then there's private loans like Sallie Mae and all those, banks and stuff like that. If you can't afford college, there are grants and scholarships, but honestly, I don't think it's something that you can really, count on to say, oh, well, I'm definitely going to get a scholarship, So you have to really be prepared and start to save and really think about what can I afford.
Private student loans are a source of funding meant to supplement, not replace, borrowing through federal student loans. Since private student loans are typically more expensive than federal loans, please use a private student loan as a last option. Private student loans are unique because the student borrows this additional loan. Students who have not established a credit history will be asked to apply with a credit-worthy
for
cosigner.
$80,000 in student loans. He had no idea years later his grandparents would be at risk of losing their home because of his life. His federal loans, which have a balance around $23,000, federal government loans, have a manageable monthly payment, but his private student loans are completely unmanageable. The lenders won't work with him to come up with a reasonable payment plan.
Are indentured servants. College students who are graduating right now have so much debt that they will never get the opportunity to pay off because they're not going to get jobs that are going to pay them enough to pay off the student loans within a few years. But imagine how bad things are going to be if this trend continues. Keep in mind that our income has not increased more than 1% since 1987, right? So it's not.
Mr. President, this isn't the American dream. This is a nightmare.
Barack Obama elaborated more on what his proposal is for U.S. colleges. And, during his State of the Union, he mentioned that he's planning on yanking federal aid out of universities that fail to keep tuition costs low. And I said, well, that's kind of counterproductive because part of the reason why they're increasing tuition is because of the fact that there is less state funding for these institutions, right? So taking federal funding away from these colleges is a disaster.
My name is Jennifer Castellanos, and I am a Special Projects Manager at Nova Southeastern University. Today I'd like to talk to you about higher education reform, specifically policies and incentives being put in place by President Obama in regards to higher education, tuition, student aid, accountability, access and affordability. All of these issues are very high priorities right now. Obama has said that education is the single most important factor in determining whether or not we can compete with other countries. Business leaders understand that, in the area of education, we need to step up our game. That's why Obama's committed together in offering quality education or making quality education within reach of every child. According to recent research reports, tuition rates are rising faster than inflation. States are defunding higher education programs at alarming rates, and with the new stipulations placed upon higher education institutions, both public and private, as far as quality education is concerned, there's going to be considerable changes now and in the future. Obama is committed to ensuring that America regains its position and graduates the highest proportion of college graduates in the world by 2020. Financial aid programs are being increased dramatically. He's committed $30 billion to college access and affordability, $40 billion to Pell Grants, $2 billion to develop, improve, and provide education and career development programs. And he's also expanding the pay-as-you-earn program, which is an income-based repayment program for those people who've already accumulated a considerable amount of debt throughout their college. President Obama, it's not enough to increase student aid. States need to do their part by making higher education a priority in their budgets, and colleges and universities need to do their part by trying to keep costs down. The federal government is now initiating 2008 maintenance of effort reforms, which establish minimum funding thresholds states must meet in order to receive federal funds. This preserves the future of state funding for higher education. It provides a more transparent reporting system, and it's really a benefit for the students, parents, and taxpayers.
State gave money to the locals. The locals then supplanted the money and withdrew their local funding and spent their local funding on something else, and therefore the funding for education remained static. So they came up with a maintenance of effort law to make sure that the local government would not withdraw their funding. This is fair.